Okay, so for number 3 on page 3, we are given 100 grams of N2. So we're going to start our conversion right there. And we're going to go from grams of N2 to moles of NH3. That's what we want. Moles of NH3. So we're going to have equals and whatever unit that we want at the very end, which is always labeled here. Calculate the moles of NH3. Okay, so the key is to go from N2 to NH3. Here's the key, but this is in moles. For every 1 mole of N2, you're going to create and generate 2 moles of NH3. So for instance, if I had 2 moles of N2, which is twice the amount of N2 I see here, how many moles of NH3 would I have? Okay, so by that logic, right now the ratio is for every 1 N2, I get 2 NH3. If I had 2 N2, that means I would create twice the amount here, 4 NH3. Hopefully you got that logic. We need to know how many moles of N2 we have first. So we don't have that right now. We have grams of N2. So we need to convert this into moles of N2, okay? I have 100 grams of N2. What's going to help me here? It's the molar mass of N2. Normally you would have to calculate that on your own with the periodic table, but it is given here, okay? The way you're supposed to read this is for every 1 mole of N2, that weighs 28.01 grams. And I would just specify that it's also N2. You could also, this is a fraction or a conversion factor that could be written as this. For every 1 mole of N2 on the top, we'll put that it weighs 28.01 grams of N2 on the bottom. The question is, which version of the ratio or conversion factor do we use? This one or this one? I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be this one. Let's go ahead and multiply this to this conversion factor. 28.01 grams of N2 and 1 mole of N2. Now why? Why did I go with this version? Well, I want the grams of N2, that unit here and here, to cancel out. That only works if I multiply this guy to the fraction where grams of N2 is on the bottom. If you multiply this times a fraction where grams of N2 is on the bottom, sort of like 7 times 3 over 7. I don't know if you know this algebraically, but that's the same as saying, hey, 7, the whole number, times 3 over 7, the 7s will cancel out. Because if I multiply that, that would have been 7 times 3 over 7. See, they cancel out. Well, the same thing occurs here. Grams of N2 times that with grams over N2 will cancel out. If I wrote it, if I used this version, that would have not happened. Notice that here, that is not grams on the bottom. That is moles of N2. Imagine this version here, or basically this flipped with this. Moles of N2 on the bottom and grams of N2 on the top, there would be no canceling out, okay? If I stopped right here, 100 divided by 28.01, that's about 5 moles of N2. What do I mean by that? Oh, sorry. Let me grab my calculator first. I didn't have it prepared. If I took 100 times 1 and divided by 28.01 times 1 divided by 28.01, I would get about, okay, I was wrong. I'm sorry, not 5. It's about 3.5. The answer would be 3.5 or 3.57 moles of N2. But that's not what I want. I want moles of NH3. So what I want to do is I want to convert whatever I get from this straight into moles of NH3. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to go from moles of N2 to moles of NH3 using this formula. This is the conversion factor you need next to multiply to. Using this formula, this tells me for every 1 mole of N2, I have 2 moles of NH3. So for every 1 mole of N2, that's 2 moles of NH3. But I could also rewrite that as for every 2 moles of NH3, you get 1 mole of N2. Sorry if that's hard to read. The question is, which version do I need? This one or this one? The truth of the matter is you need this version. Let's go ahead and write that down. Again, the reason why is this order with the N2 on the bottom, moles of N2 on the bottom. If I multiply this to this version, this ratio version where moles of N2 is on the bottom, now they can cancel out. If I wrote it using this version, moles of NH3 would have been on the bottom in the denominator. That would not allow me to cancel out moles of N2. The whole point of canceling out is so you only get left over with the units that we wanted. The question was asking for moles of NH3. That's what we want. Look at the last calculation. Everything, all the units were canceled out except this. That means we're good to go, okay? That means we're good to go for the calculation. So let's go ahead and put this in my calculator. I'm going to take all these values, 100, and all the numbers in the top, 1 and 2, and multiply those three. 100 times 1 times 2. I could stop there, and whatever I get there, I would divide it by 28.01, and technically I also had to divide it by 1. Let's just put everything in one entry in the calculator. So all that, and then we'll put the divided by sign by that first denominator number, the number on the bottom, 28.01. And then I'm going to divide it once again. So I'm going to put divided by, in my calculator, 1. That's all occurring here. Now I press enter, and that should be my final answer. 7.14, let's round it to about 7.1. 7.1 moles. Okay? That's it.